Imagine this. Long ago, in the depths of prehistory, aliens visited Earth. Yep, that's right. According to ancient astronaut believers, intelligent extraterrestrial beings made contact with humans thousands of years ago. And not only that, those alien visitors influenced the development of our cultures, religions, technologies, and maybe even our biology. All those divine beings in many ancient religions? Well, some say they were actually aliens with fancy tech, mistaken for deities by early humans. The pyramids, Stonehenge, Easter Island statues, all alien handiwork. At least that's what they claim. Ancient astronaut believers often claim that humans are either descendants or creations of those extraterrestrials. Aliens supposedly came down from the skies and kickstarted our civilization. To back up their theories, these believers point to so-called out-of-place artifacts. They take ancient artwork, legends, or even unusual archaeological finds and say, look, that's proof of alien contact. Mainstream historians and archaeologists, of course, have different perfectly reasonable explanations for all this stuff, but ancient astronaut enthusiasts aren't convinced. Instead, they argue that gaps in our historical records and the mysteries we can't explain must be the work of extraterrestrials. So, how about we hear them out? The most famous proponent of ancient astronauts was Erich von Däniken, the author of the pseudo-scientific book, Chariots of the Gods. He popularized the theory that many ancient deities were actually aliens. He even suggested that those extraterrestrials were light-skinned and Aryan in appearance. Uh-oh. At the same time, the notion of ancient aliens didn't start with von Däniken. It traces back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Early sci-fi novels like Edison's Conquest of Mars and the works of H.P. Lovecraft first toyed with the idea. The concept took off in the 1950s, gained even more traction during the space race in the 60s, and became a worldwide phenomenon. And even though many critics discredited von Däniken's work by the 70s, his influence was strong in fringe circles. Surprisingly, scientists today agree that the idea of ancient astronauts isn't impossible, but they add that it's definitely unnecessary. The so-called mysteries of history can all be explained through science, archaeology, and good old human ingenuity. No aliens required. But ancient astronaut believers often point to religious texts, suggesting that myths about gods descending from the heavens are actually tales of aliens arriving on Earth. Take, for example, the Sumerian myth of the Anunnaki. Some people interpret it as aliens coming to our planet to mine gold and creating humans as their slaves. In Hindu mythology, there are flying vehicles called vimanas, which believers say are actually ancient spaceships. Now let's finally figure it out. Did aliens visit ancient humans? Well, some people think so, and they believe the Bible might actually have proof. For example, in the Bible's book of Genesis, there's a story about the sons of God marrying the daughters of humans. Their kids were called the Nephilim giants who roamed the planet. Some Christians think these sons of God were just different families of Adam and Eve's kids. But others, as well as ancient astronaut theorists, argue that those were actually aliens who mated with humans, creating half-human, half-alien hybrids. The King James Version of the Bible even translates Nephilim as giants. In the Book of Enoch, which adds more detail to Genesis, it says that 200 angels, known as the Watchers, came to Earth, bred with humans, and taught them all sorts of things like metallurgy, magic, and astrology. Those angels, disobeying God, were eventually locked up, and God sent a flood, aka the story of Noah's Ark, to wipe out the Nephilim and the humans who had learned forbidden knowledge. Ancient astronaut believers think that this story is about aliens who were supposed to simply observe humans but broke the rules and got involved, and their offspring are the very Nephilim half-alien giants. Some also say that modern UFOs carry those fallen angels or their descendants still roaming our planet today. Let's move on. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet described a wild vision of a huge, fiery cloud with strange creatures and wheels sparkling like gems. Those beings had 4 faces, wings, and shiny bronze legs. The wheels, with the help of which they moved, were full of eyes and could go in any direction without turning. Sounds pretty sci-fi, huh? Ancient astronaut theorists believe Ezekiel described a spaceship, possibly piloted by extraterrestrial beings. This idea has been floating around, pun intended, since the 1950s. Some theorists also claim that the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred chest that held the Ten Commandments, was some kind of advanced alien technology. The same goes for other biblical objects like the Urim and Thummim used for divine communication. In the 1960s, some authors suggested that many biblical events, including miracles, were really alien tech at work. Even more shockingly, Barry Downing, a Presbyterian minister, even argued that Jesus himself was an extraterrestrial. He pointed to certain verses where Jesus said, "I am from above." The minister believed that it could have been the proof that Jesus had been an alien visitor. Some proponents also suggested that the biblical idea of hell could actually be the description of the planet Venus. The theory goes that ancient aliens might have shown early humans photos of Venus's fiery, inhospitable surface, and that inspired the idea of hell. They also claim that God and Satan were alien beings who disagreed on whether humans should be given forbidden knowledge. Others compare this to the Greek myth of Prometheus, the hero who gave humans the knowledge of fire. Some even say that the original sin in the Bible, when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, was actually about alien offspring mixing with early humans. But hold on, there's even a claim that the Book of Invasions from Irish mythology, which talks about the arrival of the Tuatha De Danann, is actually about aliens arriving in Ireland. According to the legend, they came in dark clouds and caused the sun to disappear for 3 days. Ancient astronaut theorists think this could be a reference to spaceships with cloaking devices. Now, some people think that ancient artwork is full of clues that aliens visited Earth a long time ago. Let's dive deeper into the details. Ancient astronaut believers point to cave drawings, especially those from the Hopi and Zuni tribes, that show Kachina's certain spirit beings and say they might actually represent star people, which means extraterrestrials. They argue that similar drawings found around the world are proof that aliens visited many different ancient civilizations. There are also examples from places like Australia and Italy. Drawings there look a lot like astronauts with dome-shaped helmets. Some people think those cave pictures show early humans encountering aliens wearing spacesuits. Another source of potential evidence comes from medieval and Renaissance paintings. Ancient astronaut fans claim that many artworks from this time show UFOs. For instance, in Madonna and Child with the Infant St. John, there's an odd object in the sky that people say looks like a flying saucer. You'll find more in other famous paintings like The Annunciation by Carlo Crivelli, Holy Trinity by Bonaventura Salimbeni, and Miracle of the Snow by Masolino da Panicale. However, experts, like Italian art historian Diego Cuoghi, argue that these objects aren't UFOs whatsoever. They symbolize religious ideas like angels, radiant clouds, and others. One of the most popular ancient astronaut claims is based on the Nazca lines in Peru. These huge ground drawings, depicting animals and geometric shapes, can only be fully seen from high above. Some think they were created according to instructions from aliens, or that the long lines might even have been runways for their spaceships. At the same time, archaeologists say there's no proof of this. They think the lines were actually used for ancient ceremonial purposes. One researcher even recreated a figure using just simple tools to show how they could have been made by the Nazca people themselves. But wait, there's more to consider. Some artifacts like the Saqqara bird from Egypt and the Quimbaya artifacts from Colombia, Ecuador, are said to look like modern planes or gliders. Ancient astronaut believers think these might have been models of alien spacecraft, even though mainstream archaeologists are sure that they're just stylized representations of birds and insects. Then how about sites like the Pyramids of Giza, Machu Picchu in Peru, Baalbek in Lebanon, Stonehenge in England, and the Moai statues on Easter Island? They often get linked to the idea of aliens. These structures are so massive and precisely built that humans of the time couldn't have made them without help from extraterrestrials. Mainstream archaeologists don't agree and say ancient people had the skills and manpower to move even huge stones. There have been experiments showing that large megaliths can be transported using simple ancient technologies. And still, some believers argue that the sudden rise of ancient Egypt's advanced civilization, and especially the construction of the pyramids and the Sphinx, was due to extraterrestrial influence. Now look at these massive Moai statues on Easter Island. They have puzzled people for a long time. Some ancient astronaut believers say there's no way humans could have moved such heavy structures without using alien technology. But in the 1980s, a group of researchers figured out a method that involved using ropes that made the statues walk across the landscape with the help of just a small team of people. But how will you explain this fact? Some ancient cultures, including the Egyptians and some Native Americans, used to artificially lengthen the skulls of their children. Ancient astronaut believers think they did this to mimic the appearance of extraterrestrials, whom that they might have seen as deities. Pharaoh Akhenaten and his family, who are often depicted with elongated heads and other unusual features, have also sparked theories of alien influence. Scientists believe that such features were probably caused by a genetic disorder due to inbreeding, which was common in royal families. Akhenaten was known for worshipping the sun god Aten, and some suggest his focus on the sun could be tied to a disease that sunlight helped relieve. Now let's get one thing straight. Mainstream scientists and archaeologists are not buying ancient astronaut theories. They call this whole thing pseudoscience, arguing that such wild claims often twist, misinterpret, or even outright fake evidence. The Pentagon has recently released a report, and according to the New York Times, they haven't found any evidence of aliens, spaceships, or visits from extraterrestrials. Last summer, a former U.S. intelligence officer named David Grush claimed at a congressional hearing that the U.S. might have been hiding secret programs for decades to detect and study aliens and their tech. He even said the U.S. had pieces of alien spaceships and even actual alien remains. However, the 63-page report put together by the U.S. Department of Defense's Anomaly Resolution Office says that since the 1960s, people have been confusing American spy planes and drones with UFOs, or what they now call unidentified anomalous phenomena. Pentagon spokesperson Patrick Ryder said they were keeping an open mind, but found no proof of aliens or hidden government programs. He mentioned that most sightings were just normal objects or misidentifications. In February last year, after a few unidentified flying objects were shot down over the US and Canada, an interagency group was created to look into the whole UFO situation. At the time, John Kirby from the National Security Council noted that this phenomenon had been around for a long time, but previous administrations hadn't really tried to explain it. Now, why is the ancient astronaut theory so popular? The human brain needs an easy way to explain incomprehensible things, and blaming them on some extraterrestrial powers is a simple way to do it. The supporters of the theory often take fragments out of historical and cultural contexts, ignoring the broader meaning of those pieces. Plus, they assume that alien technologies must be similar to ours, and that aliens must be interested in the same things as humans, which would be very unlikely even if aliens existed. The ancient astronaut theory, despite its popularity in certain circles, is classified by the scientific community as pseudoscience since it does not comply with the principles of the scientific method and is often based on distortion of facts or false analogies. At the same time, come to think of it, the universe is unimaginably huge. Does it really sound possible that in the vast, constantly expanding cosmos, we're the only intelligent, technologically advanced civilization? What do you think? Write your opinion in the comments. One of the greatest mysteries in human history is probably the origins of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This massive, awe-inspiring structure has been puzzling pretty much everyone for thousands of years. How did ancient engineers, without modern tools or machines, manage to pull off something so jaw-droppingly monumental? Could it be that they had a bit of extraterrestrial help? We'll dwell on this theory a bit later, but first, how about one of the more tradiatonal explanations? It claims that ancient workers could have built massive ramps to haul giant stones up to the pyramid's higher levels. It sounds reasonable until you find out that there's barely any archaeological evidence for these ramps. Sure, smaller ramps might have been used, but huge, miles-long ramps? Not likely. And even if they had existed, they would have been an enormous feat in themselves, since the builders would have needed almost as much material for the ramp as for the pyramid itself. This is where things get interesting. Since the ramp theory doesn't fully hold up, we're left with an even bigger mystery. How did the Egyptians move millions of multi-ton stones with such precision? Well, some people point to extraterrestrial visitors. The idea that aliens might have been behind the construction of the pyramids has existed for decades. According to this theory, the pyramids were just too advanced for humans to have built on their own. The precision of the architecture, the sheer scale of the project, and the mysterious mathematical principles at play have made many people believe that some outside force must have lent a hand. One of the biggest arguments the supporters of this theory have is that building something as perfect as the Great Pyramid would have required a bird's eye view. And who could have had that view? Certainly not humans, but maybe a spaceship. Aliens could have hovered above, guiding the construction. If you thought things couldn't get any more mysterious, let's talk about the golden ratio. A mathematical principle you can meet everywhere in nature, from seashells to galaxies. And the Great Pyramid's proportions seem to align almost perfectly with the golden ratio. Alien theorists point to this as evidence that the Egyptians couldn't have pulled this off without some extraterrestrial help. Some people even went so far as to claim that alien remains had been found inside the Great Pyramid. But before you get too excited, keep in mind that there's no solid evidence to back this up. And still, let's take a closer look inside the Great Pyramid. If the exterior is impressive, the interior is downright mind-blowing. It's a labyrinth of tunnels, shafts, and chambers so complex that it's no wonder people have speculated about alien involvement. How could ancient humans have designed something so intricate and mysterious? Some believers say this is further proof that the pyramids were more than just tombs. They were either built or influenced by some kind of divine or extraterrestrial intelligence. And now, let's get into one of the wildest ideas. What if the pyramids were built to align with the stars or even act as part of an ancient space elevator? Some theorists suggest that the pyramids were aligned with certain constellations and served as landing sites for alien spacecraft. Come to think about it, the site indeed sounds like a cosmic airport. All those sharp angles, the perfect geometry, the precise alignment with the stars. Others go even further, proposing that the pyramids were part of a long-lost spacefaring technology. They could have been used to harness energy from stars or served as gateways between worlds. So, are the pyramids really ancient alien landing sites? Were they part of a cosmic energy grid? So far, there's no scientific proof to support these ideas. The Great Pyramid, with all its secrets and unanswered questions, continues to captivate everyone's attention. It's a reminder that there are still things in this world, and maybe beyond it, that we just don't fully understand. One of the best and most convincing pieces of evidence that extraterrestrial civilizations have visited Earth could be the epic Nuremberg space battle of April the 4th, 1561. It was recorded either in 1561 or 1566. Different sources provide different information. All the retellings of this story focus on the woodcut picture and a vague summary of events that occurred that day. The emphasis is always on crashed spaceships and space battles. Almost everywhere you read or hear the story, it goes like this. The inhabitants of the city woke up early on an April morning and saw a staggering celestial show that looked like a real space battle. This story sounds even more convincing when you find out that some objects allegedly fought for quite a while. And some even crashed. You can see them in the lower right corner. Look at the picture once again. Orbs and crosses fighting, a giant arrow and bizarre tubes, crashing ships. Wow, that had to be a spectacular cosmic battle. To make it all more plausible, Hans Glaser, the artist behind the woodcut, was a very real person. He really did woodcuts, and this one is indeed from the time and place that it says it is, meaning it's not fake, and it does depict a real event that had its own witnesses. For all intents and purposes, it looks like very convincing proof of aliens visiting us, but don't get your hopes up. A superficial perusal of facts seems to confirm an extraterrestrial presence on our planet. But the most likely explanation is much more mundane. The Nuremberg 1561 UFO battle is just an atmospheric phenomenon called a sundog, or parhelion. A sundog is a concentrated spot of sunlight that can sometimes be seen to the right or to the left of the sun, or even on its both sides simultaneously. Sundogs often appear as a pair of patches of light with subtle colors at the same altitude over the horizon as the sun. They can have a variety of forms, from colorful spots to patches of light so intense and bright, it looks like there are two additional suns in the sky. Sundogs are weird looking enough to make it seem that something scary and otherworldly is going on in the sky. At the same time, it's just our planet's atmosphere or ice in the upper parts of the sky acting as a prism or reflective device. This prism makes the light from the sun or moon do weird things.
This image can help you visualize the phenomenon. Apparently, Nuremberg had the perfect conditions for this phenomenon to occur. If you examine the depiction of this event and compare it with modern pictures and videos, you'll soon realize that a sundog is indeed a more likely explanation than the Galactic Empire paying us a visit. Let's find the proof of this statement in the translated description of these events and in the woodcut picture itself. First, the sun showed and was seen with two blood-colored half-round strokes, like the diminishing moon right through the sun, and in the sun, above, under, and on both sides, stood blood-colored and partly bluish, or iron-colored, also black-colored round orbs. Now here's the photo of a sundog. It has a halo surrounding it, and a red orb. And if we have at least one red orb, there could be others showing up during other events. Plus, keep in mind that sundogs are like prisms. So, depending on how light is reflected, there could be multiple colors present during such a phenomenon. Now, referring to circled plates mentioned in the description, those could be halos. For example, this sun halo looks vaguely plate-like, and it seems to be linked to other sun halos. And indeed, people have seen halos with multiple orbs. Some of the orbs could have taken a cross-like shape. If we watch some modern videos of sundogs, we might notice that the orbs on film are sun-colored. But since the Nuremberg event happened between 4 and 5 a.m., the clouds and the sun could have had reddish and orange hues. As for the fighting, it could be as simple as one shape moving a bit and changing shape along with the movements of the sun. It could have looked as if it was pushing the other shapes out of the way. Do you agree with the scientific explanation, or do you prefer to think that Earth was visited by guests from a galaxy far, far away? Write your opinion in the comments.
Any UFO enthusiast would tell you that the world is teeming with strange occurrences, sightings, government disclosures, and the sudden appearance of unknown craft. In 2021, the CIA declassified thousands of pages of UFO-related documents. And yet, modern-day mysteries are only the latest in a long history of unexplainable phenomena. And one of the most bizarre and chilling tales comes from Japan. It's the legend of the Utsurobune, a mysterious otherworldly vessel. This tale suggests that we might not be the first to toy with the idea of visitors from space. The Utsurobune arrived as early as 1803. It was described as a ship not of wood or sailcloth, but something alien. Professor Tanaka Kazuo of Gifu University, who has dedicated decades to the study of the Utsurobune legend, has pointed out that the mysterious ship of this tale resembles a flying saucer. And it was long before the modern concept of UFOs saw the light of day. So, on February 22nd, 1803, off the coast of Hitachi Province, Japan, the sea seemed to give birth to an enigma. Fishermen spotted a strange vessel. It was unlike anything they had seen before, so they felt pretty unnerved when they dragged it to shore. The craft was over 10 feet tall and nearly 18 feet wide, and it had an uncanny resemblance to a koro, a traditional Japanese incense burner. But it was made not of clay or wood, but strange, lacquered rosewood on its upper half and metal plates on the bottom. As the fishermen peered inside through glass windows, they saw that an unknown script adorned the walls. They could neither read nor understand those symbols. Inside, there were cakes, water, and bedsheets. It was creepy cargo for a vessel that defied logic. And then there was another mystery, a woman. She seemed to be around 20 years old, with skin as pale as porcelain. Her red hair was long and had strands of white. She was dressed in long, smooth garments of unknown material and spoke in a language no one recognized. But the strangest thing was the box she carried. It was a rectangular object that she clutched tightly. She didn't allow anyone to touch it, no matter how persistently they asked. Rumors spread like wildfire. Most people remained cautious. They feared that tampering with such a mystery might invoke dark forces beyond human understanding. So, they chose to let the sea take its prey. According to some sources, the woman was returned to her vessel and sent back into the ocean. Those who had found her were chilled by the encounter. They were afraid that something terrible had been set in motion. In the darkness of the night, one could almost hear whispers that the Utsurobune was not the first of its kind to drift ashore, nor would it be the last. Indeed, that Utsurobune was not a single isolated incident. Other accounts exist too, scattered across time and place. In 1698, a woman in a hollow ship was said to have appeared in Toyohashi. She was sent away when no one could understand her language. And in the decades that followed, sightings of Utsuro Bune and other strange vessels continued, each one described as eerily similar, with passengers who spoke no known language and carried strange objects. The legend continues to evolve. In 1977, 2 rare ink prints were discovered. They revealed new details and locations tied to the Utsurobune. It seems that this story, this riddle, has never quite been solved. Were those visitors from other worlds, or probably from other planets? Could those legends, with their uncanny similarities, be tied to the same truth? Were the Utsurobune vessels real, or were they the product of imagination? We don't have a certain answer yet.
If humanity were to disappear, would any traces remain after millions of years? Or would time erase everything, leaving only faint hints behind? This question haunts scientists and researchers who tirelessly search for evidence of civilizations that might have existed long before us. But what if the evidence has already been discovered and we simply don't know how to interpret it? What if the remnants of these ancient societies are hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to piece together the puzzle? Today, we will dive into the mysteries of pre-human civilizations by creating a tier list based on strange discoveries, anomalous geological structures, and ancient myths. From enigmatic artifacts to catastrophic events, these mysteries challenge our understanding of history and force us to question, were we truly the first? Geological mysteries. Deep within the Earth's crust and layers of sedimentary rock, objects are found that defy conventional explanations. These geological anomalies suggest the possibility of advanced activity long before humans walked the Earth. One of the most baffling examples is the Klerksdorp spheres, discovered in South Africa. These tiny metallic spheres, often no larger than a few centimeters, feature perfectly grooved surfaces and are estimated to be around 2.8 billion years old. How did they form? Some scientists argue they are the result of natural processes, such as mineral concretion, while others speculate they could be remnants of a long-lost civilization with advanced technology. Another mystery lies in the traces resembling mechanical parts found in rock layers dating back hundreds of millions of years. These artifacts, often dismissed as natural formations, bear uncanny resemblances to gears, screws, and other mechanical components. Could they be evidence of ancient machinery, or are they simply the result of geological oddities? The debate continues, but one thing is clear. These findings challenge our understanding of Earth's history. Ancient myths and legends. Myths and legends from cultures around the world often speak of civilizations that existed long before recorded history. These stories, passed down through generations, may hold kernels of truth about pre-human societies. For example, Sumerian texts mention the existence of antediluvian kings who ruled for thousands of years before a great flood wiped them out. Similarly, and Hindu texts like the Mahabharata describe advanced technologies, including weapons of mass destruction that resemble modern nuclear bombs. The Mayan myths also tell of peoples who came before them only to vanish without a trace. Are these stories mere fabrications, or do they preserve memories of real civilizations that once thrived on Earth? While skeptics argue that myths are purely symbolic, others believe they could be distorted accounts of historical events. If so, these legends might be our only window into a world that existed long before humans. Technological anomalies. Some archaeological discoveries suggest that ancient civilizations might have possessed technologies far beyond what we typically attribute to them. These anomalies challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of early societies and raise the possibility of lost knowledge. One of the most striking examples is the city of Pumapunku in Bolivia. This ancient site features massive stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, cut with astonishing precision. The edges are so smooth and precise that they appear to have been made with advanced machinery, yet they date back to a time when such technology was supposedly non-existent. How were these blocks transported and assembled without modern tools? Another example is the Great Pyramid of Giza, a marvel of engineering that continues to baffle experts. The precision of its construction, alignment with celestial bodies, and the sheer scale of the project suggest a level of knowledge and skill that seems out of place for its time. Could these structures be evidence of a civilization that achieved technological sophistication long before us? Traces of catastrophic events. If advanced civilizations existed before humans, what happened to them? Some researchers believe that catastrophic events, such as global floods, asteroid impacts, or massive volcanic eruptions, could have wiped them out entirely. This idea is central to the Silurian hypothesis, which explores the possibility of pre-human civilizations and the likelihood of finding evidence of their existence. According to this hypothesis, Earth's geological processes act as a strong filter, erasing almost all traces of ancient societies over millions of years. Erosion, tectonic activity, and the recycling of Earth's surface layers make it nearly impossible to preserve evidence of civilizations that existed more than a few million years ago. However, some clues remain. For instance, sudden spikes in the concentration of certain isotopes in geological layers could indicate ancient nuclear events or other large-scale catastrophes. Similarly, unusual geological formations, such as the Carolina Basin in the United States, have been linked to possible asteroid impacts that could have devastated entire civilizations. While these traces are far from conclusive, they suggest that Earth's history may be far more complex than we realize. Evidence that's hard to ignore. At the top of our tier list are the discoveries that challenge the very foundations of our understanding of history. These findings are so compelling that they force us to reconsider the timeline of human and pre-human existence. One such example is the stone tools found in California mines, which are estimated to be several million years old. If humans didn't exist at that time, who created these tools? Could they be the work of an entirely different species or civilization? Another enigma is the Piri Reis map Poyig, created by a medieval Ottoman admiral. This map, which dates back to 1513, depicts parts of the world with remarkable accuracy, including the coastline of Antarctica, without its ice cover. How could a 16th century cartographer have known about the shape of a continent that was only officially discovered in the 19th century? Some researchers believe the map is based on much older sources, possibly from a civilization with advanced knowledge of geography. All these mysteries, geological anomalies, ancient myths, technological wonders, and traces of catastrophic events paint a picture of a world that may have been far more advanced and complex than we ever imagined. If civilizations existed before humans, they likely faced challenges similar to ours: environmental disasters, resource depletion, or even self-destruction. Their disappearance serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of civilization and the impermanence of human achievements. But the most pressing question remains. If such civilizations rose and fell before us, could the same fate await humanity? Are we merely another chapter in Earth's long history, destined to leave behind only faint traces for future beings to ponder? As we continue to explore these mysteries, we may uncover not only the secrets of the past, but also clues to our own survival in the future. The search for pre-human civilizations is more than an academic exercise. It is a journey into the unknown, a quest to understand our place in the vast tapestry of time. And who knows, the answers we seek might be closer than we think.
There are several places on Earth, awesome and mysterious, that evoke so many questions that some people believe they were built by or with the help of extraterrestrial intelligence. Let's explore those mystical destinations. In the hills above Cusco, Peru, you'll find an ancient Inca fortress called Sacsayhuaman. Some of the massive stones of its walls weigh as much as 360 tons. They're cut and fitted together surprisingly precisely, and no mortar is used. The stones used for this construction were transported over 20 miles from quarries. But how did the Inca do it? Did they ask for extraterrestrial help? Perhaps. But archaeologists disagree. They have found evidence that the Inca used advanced engineering techniques involving ropes and levers to move and fit the stones. Okay, let's move on to the Nazca lines. You can see them in the deserts of southern Peru. In this area, more than 800 lines and 300 shapes stretch across the deserted landscape. Those are called geoglyphs and are best viewed from the sky. That's how theories about alien involvement popped up. The lines were made by removing the top layer of reddish rocks to reveal the lighter ground beneath. And this is a pretty simple technique. You don't even need to use modern tools. The purpose of the Nazca lines is still a mystery, but most experts believe that they had some ceremonial significance. Now, the stone circle of Stonehenge must have something to do with extraterrestrial visitors, right? Those stones, some weighing as much as 50 tons, were brought from quarries hundreds of miles away. No wonder many people offered theories about alien intervention. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but archaeologists have proven that the monument could have actually been built with the help of technologies available around 5,000 years ago, such as wooden sleds and rollers. The exact purpose of Stonehenge is still under debate. Its builders could have used the stone circle to track the sun or to perform astronomy-related rituals. The next breath-stopping place on our list is the Egyptian pyramids, namely the pyramids of Giza just outside Cairo. They were built over 4,500 years ago. The largest of them, the Great Pyramid, is made of millions of 2-ton stones which are arranged with super precision. The pyramids also align with the stars of Orion's belt, and this makes some people believe that aliens might have helped to build these awe-inspiring constructions. Experts disagree. They say that although the exact methods the Egyptian builders used are still unclear, the pyramids are undoubtedly a human achievement. Ramps, levers, and a large workforce were likely used to move the stones into place. Then, how about Teotihuacan, located near modern-day Mexico City? Once, it was a thriving metropolis. The city was built more than 2,000 years ago, and its size and advanced architecture make people wonder if aliens played a key role in its construction. In reality, the city was created by several cultures, including the Maya and Zapotec. It was a center for trade, agriculture, and other activities, but it does have some connection to space. Its layout, with the pyramids aligned to celestial events, shows a deep understanding of astronomy. And still, it was the work of human hands. Now, let's travel to one of the most mysterious islands in the world, Easter Island. Nearly 900 stone figures known as moai stand there, some towering over 30 feet tall. These statues were carved from volcanic rock more than 1,000 years ago and moved across the island to their final resting places. This impressive feat, as well as the slightly creepy appearance of the figures, makes you think about some alien intervention, doesn't it? Well, another disappointment. It's believed that the Rapa Nui people used wooden sleds or rolling logs to transport the statues, and there's no evidence that extraterrestrials were involved. The last destination isn't even on Earth. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter captured an image of what seemed to be a face on Mars. It sparked numerous theories about alien activity. The face seems to be staring up from the Martian surface, like evidence of the activity of an ancient alien civilization. But more detailed images from 2001, taken by the Mars Global Surveyor, revealed that the so-called face was just a natural mesa, an isolated flat-topped hill with steep sides.
Today, we're traveling to the ancient city of Abydos, within the famed temple of Seti the Fourth, where I'll show you something that will turn your world upside down. Apparently, people traveled by helicopters or some kind of other flying machines in ancient Egypt. But where could this advanced technology have come from? Perhaps from space. Let's start from the very beginning. Strange hieroglyphs were discovered on the ceiling in the ancient city of Abydos. Look at them attentively, eerily. They depict something that resembles modern or even extraterrestrial vehicles, a bit too much for it to be a coincidence. No wonder some people are sure that the Abydos carvings can serve as proof of ancient astronauts having visited Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. And the ancient Egyptian artists depicted their spacecraft in the carvings on the roof, support at the Temple of Abydos. These carvings have another name, the helicopter hieroglyphs. There is an opinion that these mysterious artifacts might depict 20th century technology, or technology developed in another star system, or even a different galaxy. Now, pay closer attention to this piece. Doesn't it remind you of a helicopter, or probably even a submarine? And here, we can clearly see two planes. Or is it a UFO? In any case, none of these machines existed at the time when the hieroglyphs were carved. If we look at this whole situation from this point of view, it looks like it supports the ancient astronaut theory, which claims that intelligent extraterrestrial beings, aka alien astronauts, visited our planet and made contact with humans in ancient and prehistoric times. In this case, the hieroglyphs could be the proof of this extraterrestrial contact in the past. Some ufologists are also sure that aliens were responsible for the creation of such famous monuments as the pyramids in Egypt and Stonehenge, along with many others. Now, many people have argued that the images uploaded to the internet are fakes. But no, they are in fact real. At the same time, Egyptologists have offered a more logical explanation for the carvings in Abydos. In ancient Egypt, it was common practice for hieroglyphs to be recarved and refaced over the years. This process, known as palimpsest, was often done when a new pharaoh came to power. That's why the new ruler's name was carved over the previous one. And we have documentary evidence that this did happen at the Temple of Seti the Fourth in Abydos, particularly during the reign of his son, Ramses III. One blogger, Hypnogogial, expressed frustration with what he sees as gullibility from New Age, UFO, Atlantis enthusiasts. He explained that the roof support carvings had been started under Seti the Fool's reign and finished by Ramses II. As a result, where Seti the Fool's name appeared, Ramses II's carving overlapped it, and vice versa. Over time, the erosion of these carvings, combined with the overlapping hieroglyphs, created the appearance of modern machines. But in reality, those unsettling images were kinda accidental. There are people who still question this scientific theory. They claim that if the carvings are simply the result of older hieroglyphs being covered up, the symbols should appear random and unique. Several sources, including the Arab newspaper Al-Sharq al-Awsat, published pictures from the Amun-Ra temple in Karnak, which show carvings strikingly similar to those found at Abydos. So, the supporters of the idea of the extraterrestrial origin of the carvings say that if those at Karnak are authentic, the palimpsest theory loses its credibility. But most likely, ufologists just see what they want to see, ignoring any scientific proof that goes against their theories. They don't want to accept the fact that erosion, as well as the phenomenon of overlapping hieroglyphs, could have easily happened at both historical sites.
The Standard Model physics is our best explanation of how tiny particles and forces work. But sadly, it doesn't show us the full story. There are still some great mysteries it just doesn't solve, like why we have gravity, what dark matter is, and why there's so much more matter than antimatter in the universe. Plus, the Standard Model doesn't work with Einstein's theory of gravity, which makes things weird near black holes or the Big Bang. What I mean is the Standard Model doesn't explain gravity, which is actually a massive deal. We can't just toss in a graviton particle and call it a day because this model and Einstein's gravity don't get along. They each work great on their own, but not together, especially in extreme spots like black holes or at the start of the universe. Right now, particles are seen as tiny excitations in fields, known as quanta, described by quantum field theory. But calculations often produce nonsensical infinities. To handle this, we replace these infinities with measurable values, making the theory work in the real world. This process is called renormalization. When it comes to gravity, though, things get complicated. Trying the same method for gravity leads to an infinite number of these infinities, requiring endless experiments to fix them, which is an impossible task. This makes gravity non-renormalizable, so we can't fit a gravity particle or graviton into the Standard Model. Then, we should remember that particles behave differently depending on their energy level. To study them at higher energies, we first have to accelerate them to those levels. Right now, the highest particle energies we can reach are at CERN. So, the Standard Model is mainly designed to explain what we see in experiments there, but we can't be sure it holds true at even higher energies. In fact, there are clues suggesting that the Standard Model might start to break down beyond the energies we can currently achieve. Plus, the Standard Model explains around 5% of the universe's stuff. What about the other 95%? That's where dark matter and dark energy come in. Dark matter behaves like normal matter, but is totally invisible, while dark energy acts like a mysterious anti-gravity force, pushing the universe to expand faster. Then we have neutrinos. They should have no mass according to the Standard Model, but they actually change types or oscillate in a way that suggests that they do have mass. Scientists simplified things by setting neutrino mass to 0 in the model. And this doesn't impact CERN's results since neutrino masses are extremely small. Finally, our universe is made mostly of matter, yet the Standard Model says that matter and antimatter should have been created equally. So why don't we have a balanced mix of both? Scientists call these gaps beyond the Standard Model physics. We'll call it BSM physics. This is where things get exciting because physicists are exploring all sorts of ways to expand the Standard Model with ideas like new exotic particles or hidden forces we haven't discovered yet. And recently, CERN's NA62 experiment has announced a big discovery that might help us finally find BSM physics. They observed a super rare kaon decay where a positively charged kaon decays into a pion and a neutrino-antineutrino pair. How rare is this process? It happens in less than 1 in 10 billion kaon decays. This level of rarity makes it the perfect place to search for even the smallest deviations from the Standard Model predictions. This process had been seen before in past experiments. But this time, NA62 hit the 5 sigma mark. It's a level of certainty that's considered a real discovery in physics. But why is this kaon decay so important? Physicists track rare decays because they act like sensitive detectors for hidden physics. The Standard Model makes specific predictions about how often these decays should occur. If the measured decay rate doesn't match the predictions of this model, that's a big clue there could be some hidden physics lurking in the background. NA62's latest measurement of the kaon decay rate was about 50% higher than what the Standard Model predicts. This difference is still within the margin of error, but raises an eyebrow or two. Obviously, more data from the experiment will help clarify whether this difference means new physics or just random chance. By the way, making this discovery wasn't easy. The NA62 team created kaons by blasting a high-intensity proton beam into a stationary target, generating nearly 1 billion secondary particles per second. Out of these, around 6% were positively charged kaons. The researchers carefully tracked those kaons with their detector to record the decay products. From 2016 to 2022, NA62 collected data and upgraded its detector, boosting its beam intensity by 30%. Such upgrades were crucial. They helped with filtering out background noise and distinguishing those ultra-rare decays from the billions of others. With more data rolling in, NA62 hopes to push the boundaries even further. Physicists are excited to see if this kaon decay might really be hiding some BSM physics. It's all about spotting tiny blips that hint at something new and groundbreaking in the universe. Let me tell you about one of the wildest UFO stories out there. The case of Antonio Villas-Boas, a Brazilian farmer. He claimed he had been abducted by aliens in 1957. He was 23 at the time, working in the fields one night when he saw a strange red light in the sky. That light? According to him, it was an alien spaceship. He said the ship had landed and weird-looking 5-foot-tall aliens grabbed him, took him inside, and covered him in a bizarre, yucky gel. Then, things got even more alarming. Antonio claimed he had been taken to a room where extraterrestrials had taken samples of his blood, and then he had been left alone with a female alien. According to Antonio, she had white hair, red body hair, and cat-like blue eyes. Afterward, she pointed upward. The man thought that she meant she'd have their child in space. The aliens then gave Antonio a quick tour of their ship. But when he tried to take a souvenir, they stopped him. After about 4 hours or so, the man was released and could observe the spaceship fly away. Interestingly, Antonio stuck to his story throughout his whole life. Some people are sure that he made it all up, while others believe the encounter really did happen. One of the strangest things about this story is that right after the events, Boas started complaining of feeling weakness and nausea. He also suffered from headaches and lesions on the skin. Strangely, they appeared without any kind of bruising. After the farmer was examined, he found out that he had been exposed to a large dose of radiation from some unidentified source. His symptoms were those of mild radiation sickness. So whether you believe Antonio's story or not, it is still one of the most famous alien abduction cases out there. But how does science explain all these? Let's break down several explanations. Back in 1980, a researcher named Keith Basterfield suggested that some alien abduction cases might just be hallucinations. He and psychologist Dr. Robert Bartholomew even came up with the idea that people who reported abductions might be fantasy-prone, meaning they could have a hard time telling the difference between their imagination and reality. In 2011, scientists at the Phase Research Center took things a step further by using lucid dreaming to simulate alien encounters. They found that volunteers who were aware they were dreaming could actually create abduction-like experiences. In fact, 75% of the volunteers had dreams that felt just like encounters with aliens. Another explanation involves the phenomenon of sleep paralysis. Many people, about 40%, experience sleep paralysis at least once in their lives. When this happens, they can have vivid dreams, and sometimes those dreams involve aliens. The combination of a super realistic dream and being unable to move can easily convince someone that they were abducted. Some experts think alien abductions might be linked to mental trauma. For example, D. Scott Rogo, editor of the magazine Fate, suggested that people who claim to have been abducted could be dealing with personal crises or recovering from past trauma. Such cases might also be false memories from hypnosis. Regressive hypnosis is a controversial technique used to uncover lost memories of alien abductions. While some believe it can help people recall genuine experiences, critics argue that it often leads to false memories. Hypnotists might accidentally suggest ideas during the session, leading people to believe something happened that never actually did. Studies have shown that around 50% of memories recovered through this method are likely made up. So whether it's dreams, hallucinations, or false memories, there are plenty of theories explaining why some people genuinely believe they've been abducted by aliens. Look at this. Cosmic particles from all over the universe are constantly flying through space. These high-energy particles, moving almost at the speed of light, are known as cosmic rays. When they collide with our atmosphere, they produce showers of new particles, and some of them reach Earth's surface. What particles do you know? People usually remember protons and electrons, which are all around us because they are stable. They cannot decay. In reality, there are a lot of other known elementary particles, but they are not stable and decay after some time. Among these particles are muons, which, by the way, were discovered at the beginning of the 20th century while people were studying cosmic rays. These particles are 200 times heavier than an electron, so they decay very, very quickly. They only live for 2.2 microseconds before decaying. This is such a short period of time that during it, light travels less than half a mile. That's why it seems that if muons appear from cosmic rays in the atmosphere, we will not be able to see them, but this is not so. Thanks to time dilation within Einstein's theory of relativity, They can survive long enough to make it down to the surface and even pass through your body. Now, on Earth, you're constantly interacting with the atoms and molecules in the atmosphere, as well as photons, which are particles of light. Some of these particles are so energetic that they knock electrons off atoms and molecules, creating free electrons and ions that can strike you too. Neutrinos and antineutrinos also pass through your body. Those are tiny subatomic particles, nicknamed ghost particles because they barely interact with anything else. And still, neutrinos are the most common particles in the universe, with approximately 100 trillion neutrinos passing through your body every second. Luckily, these impacts are so weak that we don't notice them at all. Only special neutrino detectors, worth millions of dollars and larger than football fields, can detect rare single neutrinos. Subatomic particles are normally invisible to the human eye. It can only see light. Quite a long time ago, people realized that we could use some kind of substance which, due to the interaction with particles, emitted the light we could see. In other words, we can create a chamber filled with 100% alcohol vapor. Charged particles passing through it will leave a visible trail, turning your eyes into particle detectors. The thing is, when a charged particle moves through alcohol vapor, it ionizes a path, which then condenses into alcohol droplets. The trail left behind is long enough and lasts long enough for your eyes to see it. The speed and curve of the trail can even reveal the type of particle you're looking at. You can also place a camera in a magnetic field. The tracks become curved, and by their curvature, you can tell something about the particle. All because the trajectory of motion in a magnetic field depends on the mass and charge of the particle. And the good news is, building a cloud chamber yourself is not too difficult. You can easily find the needed materials, and your very own particle detector will cost you less than $100. Here's how you can build a cloud chamber. Start with a rectangular aquarium or fish tank with sealed edges to prevent leaks. Cut 3 pieces of thick insulating foam to fit the tank, 2 with rectangular cutouts for the tank and 1 solid piece for the base. Cut a piece of galvanized steel the same size as the foam and cover it with black cardstock, felt, or matte black paint for better visibility inside the chamber. Now, place the metal plate between the top foam layers and seal it with modeling clay. Add water or alcohol to the groove to ensure no air gets inside the chamber. Modify the fish tank by adding a felt or sponge layer at the base, which will absorb the alcohol. Then, secure the tank well because it will be placed upside down. Once that's set, you can assemble everything. Now place some dry ice in the bottom foam layers, then the metal plate, black side up, and finally, the last foam layer. Pour alcohol into the clay groove while soaking the felt or sponge with more alcohol. Flip the fish tank over and seal it into the metal grooves, creating an airtight chamber with alcohol vapor inside. Next, turn off all the lights in the room and shine a bright flashlight or projector through the tank. To get the best results, put a warm object like a towel fresh out of the dryer on top of the tank. Wait for about 10 minutes, and you'll be ready to see particles in action. To check if your cloud chamber is working, take apart an old smoke detector and remove the metal mantle inside. This component contains radioactive materials, most often americium-241. Place this mantle at the bottom of your cloud chamber once it's active, and you'll see particles shooting off in all directions, leaving trails in the vapor. Americium decays by emitting alpha particles, which are made up of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, basically a helium-4 nucleus. These particles have a low energy and high mass, creating slow, curved tracks in the chamber. Sometimes you can even see them bounce off the chamber's bottom. This is an easy test to ensure your cloud chamber is functioning properly. But alpha particle tracks aren't the only things you can see. Even if you leave the chamber empty without any radioactive source inside, you'll still see straight vertical tracks. These come from cosmic rays. Most cosmic rays are protons traveling at high speeds and energies. When they hit the upper atmosphere, they produce other particles like protons, electrons, photons, and unstable particles, such as pions. If you were to calculate how far a muon could travel based on its lifetime and the speed of light, it would only be able to travel for about 2,160 feet. Obviously, that's far less than the average 100 miles needed to reach the ground from the upper atmosphere. So, why do we see them at all in our cloud chamber? That's where relativity comes into play. Muons are created high in the atmosphere and move at speeds close to the speed of light. From our perspective, time slows down for muons, so they live longer than expected. In their reference frame, distances shrink, meaning the 100-mile journey to Earth's surface appears much shorter. Because of this, muons survive long enough to make it all the way down to the ground. This is relativity in action. From the muon's point of view, it travels only a short distance in its 2.2 microsecond lifetime. Meanwhile, from our perspective, we see it travel 100 miles over 4.5 milliseconds. The time dilation caused by the muon's high speed allows it to live longer and cover greater distances than it could otherwise. So, thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity, moons created in the upper atmosphere can live long enough to reach us here on Earth. That's why even right now, muons are passing through your body every second. Hold out your hand toward the sky, and 1 muon per second will pass through it. Relativity makes this possible. If you've ever doubted relativity, it's understandable. This concept seems kind of counterintuitive and outside of your everyday experience. But with just a few things and a little effort, you can build a cloud chamber and see the effects of relativity yourself. You'll observe muons, see their paths bend in a magnetic field, and even catch some decaying in midair. Their high speeds prove that relativity is real. Without being so swift, these muons wouldn't survive their journey to Earth at all. Time dilation and length contraction are real, and the fact that we can detect muons at Earth's surface is proof of that.